Hi, my love. Welcome to your weekly forecast for the week of June 8th to the 15th, 2025. This week brings us one of the headline events of 2025. Jupiter enters Cancer, the sign of its exaltation. So as of this Monday, June 9th, the momentum of 2025 can finally start to get going. And generally, things can start to feel good. And not just because Jupiter's in Cancer, but also because last week, Venus entered her home sign of Taurus, where she's going to be for the next month. So both benefic planets are now thriving. And June, from here on out, has blessings for all of us. And they're certainly due at this point. So let's get into the highlights of the week. We start off this week on Sunday afternoon with Mercury conjoining Jupiter at the final degree of Gemini. So Sunday can bring closure. We can arrive at an understanding of the last year and really what this Jupiter in Gemini transit was about for us. Key learnings and key takeaways can emerge, and we can close the door on one lesson that we were learning or one season that we were in. And we can start to move on now to different topics of conversations and new areas of focus. Now on Monday, things get busy. Mercury forms a square to Saturn, Venus squares Pluto, and Mercury squares Neptune. So a whole lot of tension builds all throughout Monday. Now Mercury is newly in Cancer and forming a square to Saturn in Aries. It seems like we start the week with a new perspective and maybe an urge or a hunger to start new things and move in fresh new directions. Cancer and Aries are both cardinal signs, so we might be inspired or even pushed to take initiative and show leadership in some way on Monday morning. Next, into the afternoon on Monday, Venus in Taurus will square Pluto in Aquarius. So if Monday morning is about starting new things, the afternoon takes us deeper. We might start to unearth some new information that we need to address before we move forward, or things can just start to feel a bit more real. Pluto just reveals more to the story or like some deeper truth at play here. We might have taken a new step in a new direction in the morning, and now we can kind of start to feel the implications or consequences of continuing to go in that direction. But this Pluto-Venus square checks us a bit and asks us to really make sure if we know what we're doing and that we really want to move in the direction that we're moving in. Now into the evening on Monday, Mercury in Cancer will then go on to square Neptune in Aries. And a really active day ends on kind of a confusing note, or maybe just a mentally fatigued note. I like Monday evening for slowing down and just giving ourselves time and space to process the day and maybe the weekend and humbling ourselves a bit. Then on Wednesday, at 3:43 a.m. ET, we have our full moon in Sagittarius. And this full moon illuminates what more can be possible for us here at this midpoint of 2025. Dreams expand, options increase, and new hope arrives under this full moon. Sagittarius is all about growth and expansion, dreaming big, approaching life with a spirit of curiosity and optimism. Sagittarius rules adventure and global travel, entrepreneurship, publishing, and broadcasting, all of the ways that we exchange energy and ideas with the world around us and how we make an impact on the world. Our next big idea can arrive under this full moon. The full moon's ruler, Jupiter, is of course newly in Cancer, conjunct Mercury, who's just 4 degrees away at the time of this full moon. So we can have eyes to see now the way forward or our next steps. We can see where Spirit wants us to point our arrow next. And since full moons are all about release, this full moon brings us a chance to let go of any limiting ideas or fears around playing big before we head into a very big year with Jupiter in Cancer. Now on Sunday, Mars squares Uranus, and just a few hours later, Jupiter squares Saturn. So Sunday, right after the full moon, is disruptive, maybe chaotic. Mars and Uranus are both headstrong planets, and in two fixed signs, this dynamic is intense. Sunday could bring some conflict, either inner conflict where it feels like we're wrestling with some aspect of ourselves, or with the people around us. Right after the full moon, it could feel like emotions are high and kind of everything is coming up to the surface. But this could be some breakdown to break through moment. If we're able to communicate honestly from the heart and stay grounded, we could have some really constructive, honest conversations and leap forward in a really forward-moving direction. Also, on Sunday, Jupiter squares Saturn. Now, this is the third and final square in a series of squares that's taken place between Jupiter and Saturn since August 2024. The first two squares in this trio of squares took place with Jupiter in Gemini and Saturn in Pisces. And now the third and final square will form with Jupiter in Cancer and Saturn in Aries. So the battle or tension that's been playing out for about a year changes now. With these planets now in new signs, it's almost like we can arrive at a certain dilemma or a challenge and things feel different now. So this weekend, look back on what was happening in your life around August 19th, 2024. That was the first Jupiter-Saturn square, and December 24th, 2024. That was the second square. So what comes up again around Sunday will be some final hurdle to jump before we can kind of graduate or move on in a way. Now, next week, Mars enters Virgo, Jupiter squares Neptune, the Sun enters Cancer, and we have summer solstice, and the Sun squares Saturn. And let's pull some cards for the week of June 8th to the 15th and receive some intuitive guidance on our best next steps for this exciting week ahead. What is this week about? What can we focus on? What can we look for? We have the Hanged Man. We have the Two of Cups and the Wheel of Fortune. And on the root of the deck, we have the Tower. Everything is playing out in divine timing, and we can really see divine timing play out this week. What might have felt like a standstill or a period of stagnancy is over this week. And we can see why we were called to pause and maybe why things took a while and a circuitous route, why we had to make mistakes and move through trial and error and tough conversations and challenging moments and uncertainty and a lot of tests. But that ends this week, and we can step forward. The Hanged Man is kind of like a cocoon before a breaking through rebirth kind of moment, like a coming out moment. It's messy, it's vulnerable, but it's beautiful. And it's the process, it's the journey, it's part of the journey. This definitely has something to do with relationships. So who were you calling in all this time? How were your relationships, like the most significant ones in your life? How were they evolving over the last little while? Maybe it felt like there was some agreement that couldn't quite be reached, or like a topic that you couldn't quite see eye to eye on, or maybe even like uncertainty around values and being on the same page, or even uncertainty maybe around what we were wanting ourselves. I think this is at the point in the year where things really turn and we can start to see growth, not only, on a personal level, like with ourselves, feeling more independent, feeling more strong on our own 2 feet, feeling more confident about what we're doing by way of like just our independent lives, and also what we're building with other people. Now, with the Wheel of Fortune and the Tower, don't worry if it feels like the pace shifts a lot this week. It almost feels like we're going from the Hanged Man, which is like a very slow kind of moment, to big shifts where we're just kind of like thrown into a new season of life and a very new invitation. You can handle it, and don't feel like overwhelm or emotions or not having enough time, not like feeling pushback from your like nervous system. That doesn't make you wrong, and it doesn't make you bad or like not qualified, if that makes sense. And I think there's just some kind of like, I don't know, maybe kind of like system upgrades that we just have to be a little bit patient with ourselves this week. Let's pull another card here and see what comes up, because the Wheel of Fortune reminds us that there are always going to be factors that we have no control over that, really impact us and really have a say in our direction. But those uncontrollable factors, they don't need any of our focus. They don't need any of our energy. Take your power back this week and be the eye of the wheel as it turns. Root down, anchor down fully and completely into your realm, your bag, what you can control. Like really lock in your focus with yourself. Get organized. Do your moon. Make your moon sign feel good and at home. Like when you're feeling good and at home in yourself, the world around you responds like swiftly with your blessings this week. That's what I feel with these cards. Like helpful people are going to rush to support us this week. We have the Four of Swords. A 5-minute meditation can go a hell of a long way in these energies. Yeah. The precious moments of silence and stillness, they are so precious this week. Be with them. I think this week we're really kind of making strides, making quantum leaps, rapid scaling, rapid moving forward. And it's exciting, really exciting. And it will also require us to let go of the reins a little bit. But you can do that because you have built unshakable trust in yourself and in your path and in the universe and the forces that move you. And you know yourself and your connection with your gut, your intuition. You know that well enough to know who you are and what you're doing here. You do. Thank you for listening to this weekly forecast, my love. I am sending you all of my blessings for a magical week ahead, and I will talk to you next week.